You know, really, when you think about it, Kyle does kind of present a fascinating case study, right, into potentially narcissistic families and what happens to different siblings in those narcissistic families. I mean, even if we just look at Kim, right? Kim was obviously the cash cow of the family, which at times is going to have made her the golden child, but that's not good, right? There's no role in a narcissistic family that's good or safe. Being the golden child comes with a lot of heavy expectations, and at times it makes you a chess piece, right? You are a chess piece to the narcissist's ego, and it certainly seems that Kim fit that role in that she was bringing in all this money and attention, and she was probably Big Kathy's most powerful bargaining chip when it came to getting the life she wanted, which, for those who don't know, Big Kathy was compared to Imelda Marcos, so do with that what you will. But what I find really, really fascinating is, let's assume that the Richards were a narcissistic family. It's interesting seeing the part that Kyle is now playing as the youngest sibling. Because here's the thing, the youngest child is usually the first scapegoat of the family. Everybody's roles change in a narcissistic family, but the youngest child is usually the first one to be a scapegoat, not just for the narcissistic parent, but for the siblings who are also being bullied in that environment. This can have two kind of effects, right? If you're the youngest in a narcissistic family and you experience scapegoating or black sheep or any of that stuff, right? It has one of two kind of effects. First of all, for a lot of us, it caused a break. We saw the way we're being treated by family and by our siblings, and we went, yeah, I'm never gonna be like you. I despise you. But what can also happen is that the scapegoat learns to play the game. The scapegoat learns the behaviors, the beliefs, the techniques, the posturing, whatever they need to become an active and appreciated member of this narcissistic family system. And I think we've seen that a lot with Kyle, right? If we were just assuming, I'm not saying that she's a narcissist, everybody's got some like narcissistic behaviors and tendencies when you're raised in a narcissistic family. But I think we've really seen some of these dynamics in Kyle's behaviors. Because there's an extreme calculation to Kyle, right? There's an extreme calculation where she, with the nicest voice, just seems so kind and giggly and bubbly, she will tell a story that will twist and warp someone's perception of someone else so that they then go and attack that person. And they don't even realize they've had their strings pulled. That's something that you have to be aware of with the youngest child in a narcissistic family. They watch everything. They see everything. They come into the family at end stage, which is often the worst time when the worst behaviors are beginning to grow and magnify, and they'll either break away from that or they will become an even worse version of it. And because they're the youngest, it does play into this. As the youngest, she has the least amount of power in her family, so it would make sense that Kyle would have to learn the most covert forms of manipulation and triangulation in order to operate successfully in her family. She had to learn to beat everyone around her at their own game, which does a villain make. So what do you think? Do you think that you've seen some of these patterns? We've seen the youngest taking on the traits of the family and becoming a more magnified, subtle, calculated version of a narcissistic family. Have you seen this in your family? Have you seen this in other families? Let me know in the comments. I want to know what you think.